Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a classic, but perhaps lesser known, fairy tale from the Brothers Grimm. It's a quirky little story about three unlikely friends and their daring escape. So grab a comfy seat and let's get into the tale of straw, coal and bean once upon a time. In a small, quiet village lived an old woman. One afternoon, she decided to cook herself a nice pot of beans. She went to her fireplace and started to build a fire. To get the flames going quickly, she tossed in a handful of dry straw. As the fire crackled to life, she began pouring the beans from her bowl into the pot hanging over the flames. In the process, one little bean slipped from her grasp, fell unnoticed to the floor, and rolled to a stop right next to a single piece of straw that had also escaped the fire. Just a moment later, a glowing hot coal leaped out from the fireplace with a pop, landing right beside the bean and the straw. Three unlikely companions brought together by pure chance. The straw was the first to speak. "Well, hello there, my dear friends," it said. "Where on earth did you two come from?" The coal, still shimmering with heat, replied, "I was just in the fireplace. It's a stroke of incredible luck that I jumped out when I did. If I hadn't used all my strength to leap free, I would have been completely burned to ashes by now. My life would have been over." The bean then spoke up, its voice trembling just a little. "I know the feeling. I've had a narrow escape myself. If that old woman had managed to get me into the pot with the others, I would have been mercilessly cooked into a soupy mush, just like all my poor comrades." The straw sighed, a sound like a dry rustle. "Do you think my fate would have been any better? The old woman sent all my brothers up in fire and smoke. She grabbed 60 of them at once and snuffed them out just like that. It's a miracle I managed to slip through her fingers." After a moment of silence, the coal asked the question that was on all their minds. "So, what are we supposed to do now?" The bean, being the most thoughtful of the three, had an idea. "Listen," it said. "Since we have all so fortunately escaped death, I think we should stick together. Let's become comrades and leave this place. If we stay here, who knows what new misfortune might find us. Let's set out together and find a new, safer land." This proposal sounded wonderful to the other two. The straw and the coal eagerly agreed, and so the three new friends set off on their grand adventure. They hadn't traveled for very long when they came to a small brook. The water gurgled and flowed, but there was no bridge to cross it, not even a simple plank or a line of stepping stones. They stood at the bank, puzzled, wondering how they could possibly get to the other side. Then the straw had a brilliant idea. "I've got it," it declared. "I'll lay myself down across the water from this bank to the other. You two can then walk across me, just as if I were a bridge." It was a clever and generous plan. The straw carefully stretched itself out, its ends resting securely on each bank, forming a fragile, golden bridge over the babbling brook. The coal, who was known for being a bit of a hothead and rather impulsive, didn't hesitate. With a brave, almost brash attitude, he stepped onto the newly made straw bridge. He started walking confidently, but when he reached the middle, the sound of the rushing water below him suddenly filled him with terror. He froze, his courage vanishing in an instant. He was too frightened to move forward and too scared to turn back. As the coal stood there, trembling, his intense heat began to scorch the straw. In a matter of seconds, the poor straw caught fire. It burned through the middle, broke into 2 charred pieces, and fell with a splash into the brook. The terrified coal slid right after it. As it hit the cold water, it let out a loud final hiss, and its light went out forever. It had given up the ghost. Now, the bean had been watching all of this unfold from the safety of the bank. It had been wise enough to wait and see what would happen. But the sight of the hot-headed coal's disastrous crossing was just too much. The bean started to laugh, and it wasn't just a little chuckle. It was a deep, hearty laugh that shook its whole body. It laughed and couldn't stop. It laughed so fiercely that, with a sudden pop, the bean burst wide open. It seemed that the bean's fate was to be no better than its friends. It lay there, split apart, its journey over. But as luck would have it, a wandering tailor happened to be taking a rest nearby. He was sitting by the brook, enjoying the peaceful afternoon when he saw the whole dramatic event. This tailor had a very compassionate heart. Seeing the poor burst bean, he felt a pang of pity. He didn't want its story to end so sadly. So he took out his travel sewing kit, got a needle, and threaded it. Very gently, he picked up the 2 halves of the bean and stitched them back together. The beanhole, once more, was overcome with gratitude. It thanked the kind tailor profusely for saving its life. The tailor, however, had only 1 color of thread with him. That date was black. And so, because he used black thread to sew the bean back together, from that day forward, all beans have had a little black seam running down their sides. And that's the end of the story. It's a strange little tale, isn't it? A reminder that even in the most unexpected friendships, a little bit of caution can go a long way. What started as a daring escape ended in a funny, almost absurd tragedy for 2 of our heroes, and a permanent, fashionable scar for the 3rd. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of the Brothers Grimm. If you did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more classic stories and fairy tales. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this tale.